The floor is yours.
Oh, mine. Oh, sorry. Welcome to the Chinese American Museum of Chicago. We are the only Chinese American museum in the Midwest. My name is Mabel Menard. I am the interim executive director of the museum. And welcome to all of you. If you've never been here, take a look at obviously this beautiful new exhibit. But we also have first floor and second floor. You haven't been. Take a quick look. If you don't have enough time, come back. We always welcome you. But I want to thank Larry for putting this together. It's been what, a couple of years at least? We started talking about it.
Almost 2 years.
There we go.
March.
Time flies. Yeah, just a little history how this got started. I was stalking him. He was a moderator, facilitator for an online event, and his name showed up and it said the School of the Art Institute. I'm going, I need to find this guy. And so I looked him up, we had dinner, and the next thing you know, here we are.
I'm cheap.
Yeah, dinner and a show. No show, it was just dinner.
Yeah, just dinner.
Yeah, there was no show. So I'm gonna hand this over to
White
Larry.
Castle was delicious.
So Larry, take away.
I want to echo what Maple said. Welcome to the Chinese American Museum of Chicago. This place has special meaning for me because I grew up about 4 houses away from here. Yep, went to school across the street momentarily, and unbeknownst to Mabel, I was asked way before you were here to do a reading of a book that I wrote a long time ago. And so was a little surprised when I was contacted by her because she said, listen, I want to see if we can collaborate and dream up some projects for this, this space. And I was like, absolutely, right? Let's talk about cultivating new audience. And I was very upfront and said, well, what I do is pretty limited. I am a glorified event planner when it comes just to showing artwork. So how about this? Why don't I see if I can put together a pop-up gallery and show work by artists of Chinese descent living in the area and see what happens. And lo and behold, we're going into year 2 already. And it happened, snap of a finger. My experience is that when someone contacts you, maybe 18 months, 24 months later, they told me in 3 months, let's get this ball rolling. And it's been a wonderful ride. We've had fantastic artists, including today's artist, Mari Miller, who I've known for quite a long time. I still kind of murky as to how we met. Admissions, yeah, okay. Were you a student worker?
I was a rover.
That's what you were. Okay, yeah. So you came in, I think you were a receptionist or something like, or did some sort of data entry stuff.
Something like that.
Yeah, okay.
For SAIC admissions.
And got along famously because I liked her work. And then, speaking of stalking, I kept track of her crimes and misdemeanors through Instagram, and was just agog when I saw her work when she was pursuing her master's in, the design objects, industrial design. Yeah, and I was like, wow, that is some interesting stuff. And I was at a party with her cousin because that's how our friendship solidified. I actually knew her cousin, and small world, as is often the case. And I was like, okay. I immediately forced her cousin to give me her cell phone so I could call her. And the first thing I said to her, hey, what are you doing? I'd like to give you a show. And that was over a year ago. And this is the fruit, pardon my pun, of her labor. So I'm going to shut up. I want Mari to tell us the wonderful machinations of her, the practice that created this lovely work that we're looking at today. Mari, thank you.
Thank you everyone for being here, and thanks of course to Larry and the Chinese American Museum for hosting this event. It's amazing. Thank you so much. Riley, Leo, Judy, thank you for all your help. Quincy, my partner, constant support. And Betsy for helping install. And my friend Dorothy Chen couldn't be here today. She's in another state, but she helped me come up with the title for this. And so yeah, this show is about love. Not everybody stand around, hold hands, and sing songs love, but radical love for yourself, for your communities, for the land. So much of what the land gives us is not visible. We get our food from, mass produced on these farms with horrible working conditions. We don't see the work that goes into it. And unless you're, a steward of the land, especially an Indigenous land defender, you've probably, myself included, harmed the land in some way. But it is still giving us love. It is still providing us with the food and everything we need to live. And I wanted to bring that to light. Because it is so crucial in times with, worsening climate crisis. And especially with xenophobia and a lot of Chinese Americans questioning, do they belong here on this stolen land? And, where do we belong? And I think if we can build communities of love, remembering that the land is part of that community, that is one of the answers to that question. I guess I should probably talk a bit about the process. That's the thing everyone has been asking me about. So you may have done chromatography in middle school, high school science class with markers. This is a little different from that. It's actually an alternative form of photography because it uses silver nitrate. And so, silver, that's one of the active chemicals that helps produce photographs, like old film photos. And so what I do is I take my paper and I fold it, roll it into various shapes, and I apply a 5% silver nitrate solution to that paper. When you are doing chromatography to assess soil health, like you would if, say, you were a farmer, you let that silver nitrate solution dry completely on the paper. But what I found in using it in a more artistic context is that you can really get different types of images if you let the solution dry completely or still let it be soaking wet on the paper versus semi-dry. And so I'll fold the paper, apply the solution, let it dry to a certain extent, and then I will apply my sample to it. And the sample will be, say, pears from my cousin Flickfee's garden that I chop up real fine and I soak in a lye solution for just over 3 hours. That lye helps break down some of the larger compounds in the food so that after it's been processed for 3 hours, you apply the solution, the liquid part, not the physical chopped up bits of diced pear. You apply that solution to the paper. And so all the compounds that the lye helped take out of the food and into the solution then go onto the paper. And so, some are heavier than others. And so the lighter chemicals will rise up higher on the paper. And so that's mainly the process is, folding the paper, applying different solutions. And then now here you have the final prints, which some of them were made in the last couple of weeks. As I realized, oh my gosh, I love, one of my favorite teas are Dragon Balls. And I did a lot of chromatograms with Dragon Balls early on in the process, but not later on when I had improved upon the technique to get better images. So I was like, okay, we have to scramble and get one of my favorite teas in there the last second. So, like I said earlier, silver nitrate, alternative photography. So these things, they change color when they're exposed to UV light. So over the next month or so, you'll see some of the prints darkening. You may see new striations and colors appearing. Because that's why you use the silver nitrate, is to expose chemicals that you otherwise would not be able to see. So I hope that explains things. Yeah, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Do you feel like you want to field more questions, or if
Yeah,
you're curious, you could also just ask the artist. But, yeah.
So when you say some of them are partially dried, some of them are not dried at all or fully
Yes.
dried, is there, I guess, do you have examples of the variation? Like, are the darker
Sure.
ones more dry, less? What's that?
no, so the darker the color, that's probably where the paper was folded. So where there's a concentration of compounds. The one directly behind you, that little starburst, or as someone said, a dandelion, that one I let the paper dry completely. Whereas over here, in this upper corner here, the silver nitrate was still very wet. And so that's why it's a much more smoky, ephemeral look.
So I know you, and I know that you don't have a studio, and so you're just working with these things
Yes.
in your cat-populated home.
Yes.
What's it like to have so many big projects that are basically science happening in your kitchen and in your main rooms and all other services?
Well, my partner Quincy is very understanding, thankfully. I mean, yeah, I've collected a lot of things over the years. A few years back, there was a tornado touchdown in Rogers Park, and so I collected some branches from trees that had fallen, and I was going to make baskets with them, but I have this one giant branch, and I've got that propped up in a corner of my living room. Our living room is basically studio office space, and so I would dry all of the prints on there. So I have a big table. I do all of the adding the solutions and everything on my big dining room table. And then I'll let the prints dry on the tree branches. And eventually I'll do the wet mounting. Because, adding all these solutions to the paper wrinkles. And so to see it flat like this, you have to wet mount it. I was using traditional Chinese wet mounting techniques. And so our bedroom wall is a litter of paper scraps and things. So. Yeah. Yes.
What made you decide the particular things that you make chromatographs of?
Part of it was just what I had on hand. A lot of it started with just curiosity. I love this tea. Okay, what does it look like? I hear a lot of different things about how tea that's alive, harvested from indigenous wild-grown tea trees versus tea that's processed in big factories. How there's a difference in the chi of that tea, and I wanted to see would I actually see any of those differences here, and also just wanting to focus on teas and foods where there's some significance to me, where it's from my cousin's garden, or it's my favorite tea that I know was grown in Husan or Guizhou, or I don't really know its provenance, but I know it was purchased in Chinatown, where my family has lived, for how many generations, and so just trying to find foods that have some meaning to me.
You should try with curry or something. Smell from it.
Well, thank you, Mari.
And thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.